Every year, most of us tend to do the same thing. We sit down, we want to set some new goals. We start with looking at what we've done over the past year, our successes, our failures, and most often we sit here thinking, what could I have done differently to achieve my goals? You're having to backtrack on where you went wrong here or why you didn't stick with it there, and you end up just running in this cycle year after year after year, never really achieving the goal that you set out. But the reality is, to achieve a goal, most times you don't even have to go get this extensive amount of education. To get started, sometimes it's just doing a few minutes of research and you already have the tools. But what it takes is a system. And as weird as it may sound, according to research, this is how our brain functions best. If you give it a system, a step-by-step approach, it's much easier to achieve this goal. Now, there's this book called Psycho-Cybernetics by Dr. Maxwell Maltz. And if you break the title of the book down, Psycho and Cybernetics, it's actually pretty interesting. The term psycho referring to the mind or psychology, and cybernetics, the science of communications and automatic control systems in both machines and living things. So in this book, Waltz mentions cybernetics regards the human brain, nervous system, and muscular system as a highly complex servo mechanism, an automatic goal-seeking machine that steers its way to a target or goal by use of feedback data and stored information, automatically correcting course when necessary. So when our brain decides on a target or a goal, our body has the capability to respond to that signal. Waltz also goes on to mention, this concept doesn't mean that you are a machine, but that your physical brain and body functions as a machine that you operate. Now, there's a lot more that goes into this as far as habits and techniques, but what I really want to get across is that your body and your brain are going to perform to the level of your expectations, positively or negatively. You give it an input, it's going to give you an output. So as humans, if we want to achieve something, we have to give ourselves a direction to go towards. We do need a goal. But first, you're probably thinking, what's the difference between a system and a goal? A goal is the endpoint, and the system is the step-by-step process in getting there. So it seems easy, but why don't people just use this and make stuff happen in their life? Well, it comes down to two things. Realizing that most goals are outcome focused and people choosing the wrong system. So you probably heard of SMART goals: specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely. So an example of a SMART goal is something like, I want to lose 10 pounds of body fat in 6 months. For most people, very achievable. But when you write it all down, you just have this outcome with variables that you can't control, unless you create a system that can control these variables. Now we have to take an outcome-focused goal and transform it into a process-focused system. If your goal is to lose weight, and then your system is starvation or drinking shakes, yeah, you'll probably lose some weight, but you're gonna blow up to the same size you were, if not bigger. There are systems that work, but they might not be the right system. Now let's take the process of setting a goal, creating the right system, and using it to go achieve something. Here's a 3-step process that I like to use. First, choose a goal. Remember that the goal is the endpoint. I like to use a technique from Sakichi Toyoda, who is a Japanese inventor and industrialist. This technique is called the 5 whys. It's where you start with a problem, or in our case, a goal, and you continually ask why you're actually doing this. So taking the weight loss example, why do you want to lose weight? Because I'm tired of being depressed. Well, why are you depressed? Because I try to lose weight and it doesn't work. Well, why do you not lose weight? Because when I'm sad, I eat my feelings. Well, why do you eat your feelings when you're sad? Because I'm too afraid to talk to anyone. Well, why are you afraid to talk to anyone? Because I feel ashamed and I have no confidence. Boom. When you know why you want to achieve something, it becomes that much more powerful. It's much easier to stick to. If you don't actually know the real reason why you're doing something, it's going to be extremely hard to stick with it when times get tough and you don't want to do this, because inevitably it always happens. You know this because right before someone is about to quit something, they always ask, why am I even doing this? The second part of this process is to build a bulletproof system. So you've already decided on a goal. You know the true reason why you're doing it. Now we have to create a system in order to achieve that goal. Keep in mind that systems are the things that we do on a daily basis. These are what transforms us into the person that we want to become, the person that has achieved this goal. And where a goal is completely focused on the future, systems are focused on the present. In the book Atomic Habits, James Clear mentions that you do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. Now let's talk about the process of developing a system that actually works. Well, it comes down to these 3 things. Does it have sustainability, measurability, and alignment? Where sustainability, is it something that you can do for days, weeks, months, or possibly even the years to come? In the weight loss example, we talked about that starvation and shakes, they're not sustainable because you're eventually going to break down. But there are alternatives that other people have found successful, like intermittent fasting, following macros, and even as simple as portion controls by using your hand for measurements. For measurability, it's something that you can measure over time. For the weight loss example, are you losing or are you gaining weight? Your system should have some component within it that you can look back and see your progress. Don't get too caught up in rapid progress, but just consistent progress. For alignment, is the system aligned with your goal? Now back to the weight loss example. Your system only works if it's sustainable and it's proven with measures. But you said you wanted to lose body fat. And based on your body scans, you're primarily losing muscle. If you follow a nutrition plan that's low in protein, yeah, it's sustainable. You can continuously do it and it's measurable. You're seeing that you're losing weight, but it's not in alignment with your original goal. You're losing muscle instead of the body fat. The overall system itself is flawed. And the third thing you want to do in terms of thinking in systems is review and revamp. It's a normal part of the process for your goals to change and your systems to become outdated. Over time, you might start to notice that a particular way of doing something becomes inefficient or ineffective towards what you're trying to accomplish. You get smarter, you learn from experience, and you just improve overall as a human. So when is the right time to review and revamp what you're doing? Personally, I always like to check my progress at least once every 3 months or so, like a quarterly check-in. But I don't get too hung up on that because sometimes the goals that I want to achieve, they're very, very long term. So without question, at the very end of the year, I always do a check-in on what I'm doing. I set specific time aside to gauge my progress, review the process that I've been implementing and seeing what works and what doesn't, seeing my failures, seeing my wins. And I look at it from an outside view and purposely try to pick holes at it. I try to break it apart to see if there's a better way. Some of the thoughts that go through my head are, am I wasting time or am I wasting resources? Or is this truly as maximized as it could possibly be for this phase of my life? But most importantly, I always ask myself, is this still in alignment with who I want to become and what I want out of life? Look, systems are a no-brainer if you're trying to level up your life in a purposeful and methodical way. It's something that I've been doing for years, and the road to progress is so much more manageable and achievable by just implementing systems. So leave a comment below and let me know what your system is. Or maybe you're just starting out and you're trying to develop your own system. Well, leave a comment on that and I'm happy to help out. If you're a little worried about it, send me a DM and we'll get the conversation started. I'll catch you guys on the next one.